Hey everybody, this is Jeff from the Overwatch team. We're bringing you another developer update so you know what's going on in the beta. Things have been going awesome so far. Your participation.
October the 2nd, 2022. That is the date Overwatch, as we know it, will go offline. Overwatch 1 will no longer be playable. It will be gone. It will be replaced on October the 4th with Overwatch 2. Now, I thought it would be poetic to show you guys my final Overwatch gameplay in this video. That's what you guys can see here, just me playing a bit of Soldier in quick play, actually just recorded before I recorded the audio for this video. Yeah, it's been a wild ride, and what I think I'd like to do in the video is go over what has happened to Overwatch, what maybe could have and should have been, and did we ever really need to say goodbye to Overwatch? So as we all know, Overwatch began life. Let's start from when the game launched in 2016, in May of 2016. Took the world by storm. Absolutely phenomenal game, and it still is to this day. Then obviously we go forward and we get the launch of Overwatch League, and we get a bunch of other milestones. We get seasonal events, we get things like that. You know, it's great, it's all going well. But then unfortunately, towards the end of 2018, and maybe you could say even partway through 2018, definitely after the Archives event in 2018, we sort of went into a period of, well, the game became very confused and it started to produce less and less content. And obviously, ultimately, this culminated in the announcement of Overwatch 2 in 2019 at BlizzCon. And then, yes, we go all the way forward until, well, essentially today almost, although the 4th of October, which is in a week or so, if you guys are watching this video on the day it went out, as to the launch of Overwatch 2, but it's only a partial launch. It is the launch of PvP only and not the PvE, which the sequel is essentially being, well, that's the main attraction. How did we get here? What the hell has gone on? And could things have been different? Overwatch, I honestly believe this game could have been absolutely phenomenal. I honestly believe Overwatch could have retained its position as the #1 game in the world. You know, you might call me a boomer for this, but back in 2016 and most of 2017, Overwatch was the game. It was the biggest game on the planet. Everybody knew about Overwatch. Hell, it was starting to proliferate into pop culture. People who don't even play video games were like, oh, that's Tracer. Oh, that's Torbjorn. Maybe not Torbjorn, but you get what I'm saying. They were very familiar with the IP. Can you imagine a world in which Overwatch launched an anime or some sort of animated series, and Overwatch continued to constantly update the game with tons of new heroes, tons of new game modes, new maps, and they were really going for it? Hell, maybe they changed the loot box monetization system partway through Overwatch's life and then carried on supporting it with maybe a different system. What happens if they, I don't know, maybe sold mythic skins for $10, $15 a pop? Imagine doing that back in 2018. That might have supported the game long term. Anyway, this is all by the by, and I honestly think Overwatch itself as a game did not need to be shut down. It didn't need to be deleted. It didn't need radical changes like let's go to 5v5. It would have been okay if they kept it as it was and continued to update the game and support the game. Unfortunately, what happened to Overwatch is it lost all momentum throughout those years where content was very light. People started to play different games. This is inevitable. People will always play different games. You're not going to play the same game forever. But if you effectively pull support from under your game, as Blizzard did, then you are going to cause the reduction in player base size and interest in the game much faster than it would happen if the game was supported. So we move forward to Overwatch 2, and there's a series of gambles being made here by Blizzard, and I think it will pay off. I honestly do. I think the game will have more players than ever simply because it's free to play. I think the battle pass is kind of a bit weak based on what we've seen so far. I don't like locking heroes in the battle pass. It is a core gameplay component. I wish they went down a different path, but you can see why they've done this, and they've even come out and stated explicitly why they have done this. It is because the heroes are the highest engagement component of the game. Therefore, you will make the most money if you effectively sell heroes, and that is what they are doing, and you can't blame them for that. They need to make money to show the executives this game is worth supporting. Now, of course, we all know this game is worth supporting, but the problem is they've dug themselves into a hole that required a relaunch of the game to create a, somewhat of a marketing beat, a bit of buzz around the gaming industry to get people to come back and try this new version of Overwatch. So what we end up with is a change in the way PvP functions. No longer is it 6v6, it's now 5v5. Now, I played 5v5 extensively, and it has its pros and cons. It's not just a upgrade in every single way to 6v6, and this again is one of the issues Overwatch 2 itself is facing at the moment, I believe. It is not an upgrade. It is a side grade. It is an upgrade in some areas, maybe even a downgrade in other areas. I can throw the example out of if you are a tank and you play with an off tank, well, you can't do that anymore because it's 5v5 and there's only one tank. So that is a negative, a huge negative to that type of player. And I think this is where a lot of the issues start to stem from. It isn't just a cut and dry better version of Overwatch. It's a different version of Overwatch. And yes, while things are technically better, things like the graphics engine is way better. You will get much higher frame rates and the game looks nicer. You've got higher fidelity. It is much better. The game plays better in terms of the way it feels as well. It feels even more responsive. And Overwatch was always incredible for that. But this is when we end up coming back to the old argument of, well, couldn't this have just been plugged into Overwatch? It isn't Overwatch 2 just Overwatch anyway with content updates? And it basically is. The big differences are we are going from 6v6 to 5v5, and we're having things like hero passives being introduced into the game. Yes, we're getting new game modes. Yes, we're getting new maps. Yes, we're getting new heroes. But all of these we could have got in Overwatch. And I think one of my greatest, it's not a regret, but I would have loved to have seen a world. I'd love to travel to a parallel world where Overwatch was continually supported. Content was always being added to the game. They changed things up as they went, as they continued to develop the game. They didn't just stop supporting the game. Maybe we would have ended up in a world where they decided to make it 5v5 anyway. That might have just organically happened. I don't think we'll ever know the reasons for some of the changes and some of the things which happened at Blizzard which led us to the situation we find ourselves in with Overwatch 2. However, I would like to focus on some of the positives. Now, it's very easy to be very negative and go, well, Overwatch 1 is dead and that was the game that I like to play. Overwatch 2 is different to Overwatch 1, and you cannot play Overwatch 1 anymore. They want you to play Overwatch 2. They don't want to fragment the community and have two different games. Can you imagine if Overwatch for some reason had a larger player base than Overwatch 2? That would be very awkward. That's not going to be the case because Overwatch 1 effectively just becomes Overwatch 2, so the game is gone. Now, how can this be a pro? Well, you've got to look at it this way. It's a different world that we live in now, and free-to-play is a critical component of the biggest games on the planet. When you look at battle passes, again, they are a critical component of the biggest games on the planet. You look at the cosmetics department Blizzard have got. Now, they can't always make top-of-the-range, amazing cosmetic items, but I think a lot of people out there would agree with me in saying they generally do make some of the best cosmetic items in the entire industry, and for the last 6 years, they've basically been giving them away for free. Now they can sell them, and they'll probably make a ton of money doing that. So the good news is for us as players of Overwatch is the game will probably be supported for a long time to come because it will make a ton of money. I have got no doubt in my mind about that, especially at launch. The big issue is going to be what happens in the future. Where are we a year from now? What happens when PvE gets eventually added to Overwatch 2 and we get our sort of complete version of Overwatch 2 instead of half of the game, which we're effectively receiving now. So I do think there are pros to this situation, and obviously the biggest pro is we are getting content, and I think it doesn't take anyone any kind of time to just go and take a look around on YouTube. Hell, take a look at my YouTube channel. You'll see the views are very high on the videos. People are interested. They want to see what Overwatch 2 is all about. And as I said, it is a different world that we're stepping into. This is a world where I think the faster gameplay pace of Overwatch 2, and I know Overwatch was fast anyway, but Overwatch 2 is even faster, might be even more attractive to a new generation of gamers. And this is where we need to look at what the gamers are. You think of Fortnite players. These are players that maybe were 12, 13, 14 when Fortnite came out in 2017. That's 5 years ago. These players now could be 16, 17, 18, 19. They could be wanting to play a different game. They might want to play Overwatch 2. And because Overwatch 2 is free to play, that massive base of players who are used to free to play systems might find it very easy to step into the shoes of Overwatch 2. So I think this is a bright future for the game. Yes, I'm probably taking quite a bit of hopium, but I do think things could have been radically and should have been radically different throughout the lifespan of Overwatch. It should not have been a game that had to be rebooted in this way with drastic changes to hope and gamble and pray that players do come back to the game. But I think they will. The question is, can they attract new players to the game? And the biggest question out of all of this is, will Overwatch 2 retain that same charm, that same gameplay attractiveness that Overwatch had? And I cannot answer that question. Yes, I may have played loads in the betas and even in various test builds of the game that Blizzard have very graciously given me access to, but I can't answer that question. We can only answer that question after a few months of the game being live, and we'll know then, because we've played thousands of hours of Overwatch, how that compares to Overwatch 2. So this is the end of the story, guys, for Overwatch. The game is being replaced with Overwatch 2. We'll have to wait and see what happens, but I think I'll leave the outro of the video over to Jeff Kaplan in his final dev update, and yeah, catch you guys on the next one.
But we're working extremely hard. We want this game to be great for you, both the live game and the upcoming sequel. We hope you have a wonderful holiday season, no matter what holiday you celebrate. We hope for all of humanity, 2021 is a little bit brighter and better than 2020 was. Be safe and know that all of us on the Overwatch team are thinking of you. Thank you.